Turn mine down.
Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the NFL Wrap-Up Show, and tonight we are going to wrap up the end of the Week 11 portion of the season. We had two teams that had bye weeks. We've had some interesting things happen, a first-time appearance for a player, a couple of spitting incidences that we can talk about. Joey wants to spit on me a little bit because I just make him angry all the time. But actually, this is going to be a part of the show where we get to enjoy and review what happened in Week 11 of the National Football League. We hope you enjoy it as well, along with Brian LeBel, our college and NFL analyst, and Joey Clinkscales, our NFL general manager and scouting director, personnel director, everything under the sun. I'm Harper LeBel, and welcome to the show. Guys, we've got Week 11. The Dallas Cowboys are ahead of the Las Vegas Raiders. It's not over, but it might as well should be. Dallas just got a safety. It's 33-16 with about 12 minutes, just under 12 minutes left to go in this ball game. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but are there any comments that either of you have here when the Cowboys take on Vegas? It's not your primetime game of the season, but at the beginning of the year, these two old rivals, obviously, there's a lot of history between the two of them. And this game, obviously, Joey, it's in Las Vegas, a place that you've been to, a great place to watch a football game, but not to watch the Raiders right now. They're not playing very well.
Well, I'll put it like this. I mean, we've talked about the Cowboys defense before being sponsored by KO Pectate, and that's who they are. But they're playing the Raiders, whose team is sponsored by Scott's Tissue. They're one ply, and you just go for what. So the Cowboys should win this game handily, which they are doing. So I didn't have really high expectations for this game, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, and we're starting a little early. Brian, before the final, before the gun is shot to indicate the end of the game, Dallas kind of needs this one right now. This is not a must-win playoff game, but they're only 3-5-1, and they lose, their playoff hopes are officially shot, if you ask me. However, the Raiders are playing for pride right now. So just give me a basic overview of the beginning of this game and what kind of hype you would put on it if you were broadcasting it on the network.
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's a get-right game for the Cowboys. Raiders don't have a ton of talent right now. I mean, you got Gene T, you got Bowers, but other than those two guys, there's not a lot going right in Raiderland. They had a little extra time to prep for it, so you think maybe it'd be a little more of a fight since they played on Thursday night last week. But it's been all Cowboys. Dak Prescott looks surgical. He's got MVP-type numbers tonight. George Pickens had a really nice night, which I think is good for Cowboys fans. Both Pickens and CeeDee Lamb found the end zone. So, I mean, they just had an onside free kick after a safety. I haven't seen that, but not a lot going on if you're the Raiders. Cowboys packed out the stadium as well. It's almost like a home game for them, which they're known to do, but especially with a bad football team like the Raiders and in the area they're in.
Yeah, they used to travel incredibly well. The Packers always travel well. The Browns used to travel well. The Bills Mafia travels well. Washington has traveled well. Joey, who am I missing? There's some other teams that bring a lot of folks with them when they go anywhere.
Historically, the Raiders have traveled well. Historically, the Giants have traveled well.
49ers. I forgot the 49ers. Every time they come into Atlanta, they pack it out.
Yeah. Giants too. Giants always travel well here. But yeah, Cowboys are talk of the town though when it comes to, filling other team stadiums.
Well, let's take a look at what action took place here, starting with Thursday night's game. Patriots at home against the Jets. Patriots get a win. They're 9-2. It's 27-14 is the final. Jets fall to 2-8. As a team, 271 yards in the air for the Patriots, 65 yards on the ground. And that's not really a great game, but you know what? 27-14 means that you handled your business. Joey, first start with the Patriots. The Bills are kind of struggling right now. I think the Dolphins have definitely made sure that they're better, but they're too far behind. This is their division to win right now, and they just keep winning. 9-2 is a great place to be for the Patriots.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, the Patriots are playing the best in the division, and that's because Drake May is playing like a MVP type candidate. I wouldn't say that he's the leader at this point, but he is playing at a very high level. He's spreading the ball around. I mean, Diggs is having an excellent year so far. They're getting explosive plays from Henderson. And defensively, they're a good team, not a great team. They do have some youth. Their best defensive lineman did not play again, the kid that they paid a ton of money to this offseason. However, they do just enough to get it done. They are a tough, smart team that don't beat themselves a lot of times. So when you play the Patriots, you have to beat the Patriots. You can't rely on them making a ton of mistakes and having a ton of penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Jets, of course, still trying to get out of their own way, whether it be penalties, whether it be just a simple mistake, some of the things that they've had happen. Brian, you've talked about Justin Fields in some previous 116 yards. He had 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked twice. Not good enough to win, but at least, he's still on. And Isaiah Williams got an attempt, big deal. But I'm just saying only 26 attempts. He completes 15 of them. He's still got a ways to go in order to be, in my opinion, a legitimate NFL starting quarterback that I would want to have on my team and my roster. But they've been struggling all year.
They put together a really good first drive. The first 15 scripted that they had worked out really, really well. They ran the ball. They chewed up a bunch of clock. And for a second there, it kind of looked like they might be in the football game. I don't know if you guys watch it, but it's just, I think the Patriots are too talented. I think once the Jets kind of get off rhythm and they get off their game, they get a penalty, they get a loss of yards on a run play or an incomplete pass. I don't think they're talented enough right now to come back from that. Now, they got a ton of draft picks, right? They've traded a bunch of guys away. They got a ton of draft picks coming back, and this is a team building for the future. But off a short week, I think you really find out how good a team is because you're running your most simple offenses, and the Patriots were just better than the Jets.
Before I forget, Joey, I want to ask you about that, the draft picks. You get NFL talent, you give it up for a 4th or 5th rounder. Is that a good thing for you to have happen? Or if you accumulate 4 or 5 of them, you trade up and get a 2nd rounder for 2/3 and a 4th? Tell me what the logistical reasons are for getting rid of your starters, relieving some cap space, but basically leaving a void and a hole in your roster that next year is going to be filled up with the 5th rounder, something like that. I mean, tell me how that works.
Well, I think ultimately when you do things like that, you've already given up on this season. Whether you verbalize it to the public or not, you've given up on this season. Now, with the additional draft picks, you're able to pair those with other picks and move up in the draft. So let's just say, with one of their first round picks that's in the back of the round or the 2nd round, for that matter, you take those picks in combination with the 4th round pick that you have, because now you have 3 or 4 of those, and you can move up from, let's just say, 30 to maybe 14, or from 55 in the 2nd round to 35, because now you've paired your second, with a 4th, and somebody will be able to take that to get their pick. So you're able to pair those, and ultimately, in a 7-round draft, you're probably, because of the salary cap, not going to draft more than 10 guys anyway, maybe 11, probably 10. So you're using those later round picks to pair up, to move up, to get a player that you've identified that you really like and can help your squad.
Yeah, well, 2 years ago, the next team we're going to talk about, the Commanders, they had 10 picks in the draft, including the 2nd overall. They end up last year going to the NFC Championship game. Everything's turned south on them. They fall to 3-8 here. They go to Miami and lose 16-13. It's a close game. Brian, I'll start with you. Everything that the Commanders seem to be doing right now ends up, and this goes to overtime, by the way. It's close, but they just haven't been able to win the games that they won last year that were close, and they somehow or another find a way to win. This year is the exact opposite.
Yeah, we talked about injuries, right, and kind of the ability to just be able to plug and play, and Washington was able to do that for the first month and kind of tread water. But with the way that the Eagles are playing and the way that everybody else in the NFC is playing, the season was kind of over for them quickly, and especially with Jaden Daniels re-injuring himself when he had that nasty arm injury a couple weeks back. But Terry McLaurin hasn't been 100%. The defense looks really bad. Nobody on defense has really been 100%, at least a lot of the guys that are impact players. But this was the overseas game, if I'm not mistaken. I think this was the first game in Barcelona. So that was pretty cool. But Dolphins have put together a couple of really nice weeks of football. I'm going to give them some credit because, we were dogging them. We were saying, hey, this season's over, right? You're moving on. You fire, you clean house. I thought McDaniels was going to be shown the door. But the Dolphins have figured it out. They've won some games. Washington played some decent secondary football. Their pass defense is abysmal. It's been one of the worst in the league. But they showed some fight. It just, unfortunately wasn't enough. And a battle of 2 bad teams overseas, as we get a lot. But the Dolphins are just a little bit better.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we weren't even talking about the Dolphins except for what a hot mess they were. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it was just an explosive fire of garbage. But they're kind of turning some things around. It's good for them. And one thing I want to make sure I mention of, Joy, please forgive me. It's at the Casa del Monte Cristo. It's one of your favorite smokehouses. You're having yourself a Lincoln Pravada T52. Is that correct?
Lincoln Pravada T52. Absolutely.
All right. Well, while you're having your T52, do me a favor and tell me, is a job safer now in Miami than it was about a month ago?
No, absolutely not. I mean, they gave away one of their best players to the Eagles, who we'll talk about, who's playing really well. Their best receiver is out for the year, and maybe his career. We don't know that at this point. They've streamlined some things, so Tua's playing a lot better right now because they aren't asking him to save the world. And Achane is really running the ball, so they're able to win the time of possession from that standpoint because they're running the ball. But still, I mean, they are lacking in so many areas. Offensive line, defensive line, to be quite honest with you. The secondary is average. So I think they're prolonging the obvious because, again, they aren't going anywhere. They're running in quicksand right now. So good for them that they have not quit on the season, which means they have a team with character, that they're playing through the end. Yeah. However, I don't see them going anywhere now or under this current regime.
Commanders fall to 3-8. Dolphins are 4-7. Another team that didn't quit at the beginning of the year, and now they're basically a half a game from first place, and that's the Carolina Panthers. 30-27, a final in overtime in Atlanta. That Brian, they scored two in the two games that they played. They've swept the Falcons for the first time in about a decade. And they score 30 points in both. The Falcons were shut out in the first one. They get 27. They take it to overtime, but they can't get out of their own way. They don't know what they're doing. But do me a favor. Tell me what the numbers are with Bryce. Unbelievable how he threw for 115 and 127 and 152 yards over the past 4, 5, 6 weeks. And tell us a little bit about how well he played yesterday.
Yeah, so I think his highest I don't think he's had over 200 yards in a month and a half. And he comes out and he breaks the Panthers franchise record for passing yards in a game. If Bryce Young could play every game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think the Panthers would ever lose. It's one of those things where this dude comes in and he just, for whatever reason, he's got the Falcons figured out, and there's something. I don't know if someone in Atlanta when he was at Alabama talked smack to him. I don't know what it was, but he's got a chip on his shoulder whenever he enters the building here in downtown Atlanta, and he did whatever he wanted. He had a bad knee, he had a bad shoulder, he got knocked out of the game 2 or 3 times, and I think he probably told the medical staff he refused to do. He said, "This is my Super Bowl year, and I refuse to come out." And he played a heck of a game. They threw the ball over the yard, which is kind of the opposite of what they've been doing. Dowdle's kind of been the workhorse on offense, and he's kind of been the go-to guy as far as, we're going to run through you and we're going to play action and try to do anything we can in the back end through the passing game. But Bryce Young was on fire. Really, really bad week for the Atlanta Falcons defense, for their offense too. A couple injuries. It's bad in Atlanta right now. And Carolina with the Tampa loss, they're half a game out of first place in a playoff spot in the South.
Yeah, how about that? 5 sacks for the Falcons defensively, which is unheard of. They had 5 sacks in about 14 weeks last year. So they're getting to the quarterback, but they're also giving up about 30 points a game. So a little bit too high, Joey. Your thoughts here on this one for Carolina? Obviously, who would have thought that they'd be in just a half a game out of first place? They are 6-5. Tampa is 6-4. So that one loss is kind of a big deal right now. But they have a bye week coming up, and with 6 wins right now, they're in a good place here for the division.
With 6 wins, they're already ahead of the total from last year, which was 5 total. Yeah. Carolina's in a good place. They have a young quarterback, obviously, Bryce Young, who's getting a lot better. They've been able to run the ball. The numbers don't show it from a yardage standpoint with Rico. However, I mean, 19 carries, and then their rookie receiver is playing excellent football right now. I mean, he's in my opinion, the second best rookie receiver in the league right now, but he's not behind the kid from Tampa for sure. Atlanta's got some things to think about. First of all, they need to figure out the head coaching situation after this is all said and done. I think that's going to be a topic of conversation, probably not tonight, but for another night. The best player, Bijan, has played really well. He continues to be the workhorse. And Penix, who was playing pretty good when he was injured, that knee, but he's been injury prone for his career. The
Yes.
last 5 or 6 years, he's only completed 1 year. That goes back from being in Indiana to
Washington. Yep.
Washington, or everywhere he's been injured. So this has been an ongoing theme for him. So it's really unfortunate, but that was his pedigree. That was something that was always a concern when he was coming out. The number of injuries he's had in his past. So it's a real concerning thing with them. So hey, the other quarterback will have a chance to resurrect his career if he can make something out of this season.
Yeah.
Can I add something real quick?
Please, Brian, before we do, real quick, I was just going to say that it looks like could be season-ending surgery for Penix. Not quite positive yet. They probably have another day of testing. And if Michael wants to get a second opinion, he has the right to do that. If he wants another doctor to examine or actually do the surgery on him. But you paid, $40 million a year for Kirk Cousins, and now it's going to be his team again. Brian, your thoughts?
That's why he's here, right? The thoughts are, the whole idea was kind of the inverse, though, right? It was supposed to be Cousins' show, and then Penix would learn from him, and then you figure it out. But when jobs are on the line and seats are hot, you kind of make moves to, kind of right the ship or make a correction or do whatever you got to do. But the Falcons have 18 sacks over their last 3 games, which is the most in NFL history for one team over a 3-game span, and they are 0-3 in that span.
Yeah.
And this is a team that was, for years, they were, second to last or 29th as far as like pressure rates and sacks or whatever. And they righted the ship, and now the quarterback room is a mess. And it's just, you plug one hole and then another one opens up. You're still treading water. And unfortunately for Atlanta, it's not looking good. And the Rams, by the way, own their first-round pick this year. So be interesting to see what happens.
Well, looking in the division, 6-5, Carolina Panthers are in a good spot. 6-4, Tampa, they go to Buffalo. 44-32 is the final there. Baker is running out of guys to throw to and to hand off to. They have 173 yards in the air, 202 on the ground, but Josh Allen had a really good game, 317 yards for him. They only had 97 yards rushing, but they really didn't need anything much more than that. When you're scoring 44 points, Joey, that's a pretty good sign that it doesn't matter, even if it's a short field, you're moving the ball well, and you're getting the ball in the end zone when you need to.
Well, Josh Allen was doing Josh Allen things. He threw for over 300 yards. And 3 touchdowns. He rushed for 3 touchdowns. He threw 2 interceptions. So you got almost every season of Josh Allen in one game there. The turnovers, which usually when he makes the turnovers, they lose, but not this time because he was so effective running the ball when he needed to. And obviously, when he's on point throwing the ball, they're a really hard team to beat. So that was impressive, and Baker has kind of come back down to earth. That being said, he's not playing bad football. He's just got so many injuries around him that he's not able to be at his best.
Yeah, they've lost 3 out of the 4, Brian. They've lost to the Lions. That game was in Detroit. They beat New Orleans, and they lose to the Patriots and at the Bills back-to-back. They've got the Rams, Cardinals, Saints, and Falcons. They can kind of get themselves healthy and change that situation over the next couple of weeks. Although the game at the Rams coming up here, it's the Sunday evening game. That'll be critical for them.
Yeah, we're still waiting on Bucky Irving to come back. He's been a critical part of their offense for a couple of years now. But Sean Tucker, running back, who they've kind of plugged in, he had a phenomenal game on Sunday. He was honestly, for a while there, he was the majority of their offense. He had some explosive plays. He really kept the Bucs in it. They didn't do much else other than when they got the ball to him. Shout out the Bills. I think this is a game. They're not playing poorly, but they're not really up to snuff. We're used to them, playing at this time of the year. We're used to them kind of being in first place and in control of their own destiny. But, with how well the Patriots are playing, it's tough to do so at this moment. But Bills secondary played very, very well. They did okay against the run, not great. That's kind of their Achilles heel right now. But unfortunately for Tampa, there is another team in the division playing really, really well. We just talked about it with the Carolina Panthers. But I'm not really sold on Carolina yet. I mean, this is a team that came and they had a great win in Atlanta. Bryce Young looks great, but the week before they lost to the New Orleans Saints. They only scored 7 points at home. So I think Tampa's still in an okay spot. They're trying to get healthy. They're trying to play for the playoffs, but they're kind of running out of losses that they can afford to give. And some tough games, some easy games on the schedule, but they're going to have to take care of business the last couple of weeks if they want to host a playoff game come January.
Tampa falls to 6-4. The Bills are 7-3, and even though they look sluggish, and they're still 7-3, but they're not in first place. They're obviously trailing the Patriots in the division. All right, a T52 is what Joey's familiar with. Well, how about a T and a T? We got the Texans and the Titans. This game, Houston ends up winning 16-13, just enough to win. Titans fall to 1-9. Joey, Texans are at 5-5. Let's look at the glass half full. Texans. They needed this win for obvious reasons. The Indianapolis Colts were in a bye. Jacksonville wins. They just got to keep pace and hope that things start to turn around here in the second half of the season.
Yes, I mean, glass half full. The Texans won a game that they needed to win. Nico Collins played well. Mills did enough good things to help them play at a really high level. They still don't run the ball with the effectiveness that you like for a playoff caliber football team to do. And offensive line is just average at best right now. They aren't great. So I'm not sure even if the Texans did enough to get into the playoffs that they would really make a real dent in the playoffs. The Titans, on the other hand, I mean, their season is pretty much over. And it's been that way for a while. But, Cam Ward is doing some good things. I mean, he led them in rushing, believe it or not, with 33 yards, which is kind of embarrassing. That tells you that they're having issues both on the offensive line and at the running back position. Yeah. And they're another team like the Raiders that they're really void of playmakers. I mean, no one scares you when you play the Titans. I mean, you can defensively – you can play man-to-man, and you can apply pressure to the quarterback because no one on the outside scares you, and the running game doesn't scare you. So Cam Ward is doing a lot of things, and he's going to make mistakes because he's a rookie. But guess what? I mean, he has no choice. Right now, he's their best offensive player.
Yeah. You mentioned the running game or lack thereof. Titans rushed for 75 yards. Tennessee rushes for a total of 58, and you said, 32 go to Cam himself. Just a rough go right there. Brian, real quick, they still have a chance. Mathematically, there's a lot of things that can happen, but what's the good news now for Houston?
CJ Stroud should be back next week. I mean, give credit to Davis Mills. He did a phenomenal job filling in, but 16 points against this Titans defense isn't really anything to write home about. It's enough to win the game, and that's awesome. That's what you set out to do, but Titans are out. Their top 3 wide receivers. Calvin Ridley broke his leg on Sunday. I mean, they don't have a lot of, like Joey said, they don't really have a lot of guys. I don't think talent-wise they were really up to par with anybody else in the league. And then on top of that, when you lose all the guys you do have, they're just throwing guys in there. I got to give Cam Ward a lot of credit, though. His numbers have gone up.
Yeah.
Having to drop back 37 times against the number 1 ranked defense isn't ideal, but he did it, and he drove them down the field. They really had a chance to win this game, and kudos to him. Season's not over. He hasn't quit on this team, and I think he's going to have a lot of success in the future. But the Titans have a lot of things to figure out this offseason.
Yeah, Joey. To that point, Cam's getting invaluable experience right now. I remember his rookie year, but he still owns the interception record for Peyton Manning. I remember John Elway lining up behind the guard and asking for the ball, and the guards literally telling him, you got to get behind the other guy. There are some guys that have done some embarrassing things their first year, but Cam, on a terrible football team, and that's why he was the number 1 pick, is playing okay. It's not perfect, and it's not stellar. He doesn't have anything around him, but he's getting some valuable experience. Maybe by year 3 or 4, he'll be able to take this team to where it needs to be if they make some moves. But give me your thoughts and impressions from the general manager standpoint about his progress and whether he's ahead of the curve right now, at the curve, or maybe still needing to improve.
Well, I think he's ahead of the curve. I mean, we're going to talk about J.J. McCarthy. We're going to talk about some guys who I think he's a lot further along than those guys right now. Okay. Experience is the best teacher. And right now, despite not having a lot around him, he's able to gain not only leadership ability, but respect from the locker room. He's not throwing guys under the bus, and he's playing hard, and the guys will follow him. Those who stay will be really good because Cam Ward is there getting better. He's going through a lot of these bumps and bruises now, so in the future he can be a really high-level quarterback.
Well, you mentioned J.J. McCarthy. Our next game, we'll talk a little bit about J.J. Who would have thought a year ago that the Chicago Bears would be 7-3? At this time last year, we were going, their season's just about over. Now, as I mentioned, they're 7-3, a 19-17 win. Even though there was a tremendous comeback there by the Vikings, they get 14 points there in the fourth quarter. It wasn't enough, and they end up falling short. They're 4-6. A year ago, what were they? They were on their way to 14 wins. They won't come anywhere close to that this year. They'll be lucky to get 10. Give me your thoughts first about JJ. How many yards did he have yesterday? 150 in the air. They had 115 on the ground, but it wasn't enough in order to stop the Bears, who, in my opinion, Joey, they're winning the games that last year they were losing. Maybe the last 2 years, they're winning the close ones in ways that they haven't done recently.
Absolutely. I'll start with Chicago because I think Caleb Williams continues to get better. I mean, his numbers were not too dissimilar to what McCarthy did, although it looked completely different. He was a lot more efficient. He made plays when they needed for him to make plays, the big throws. He didn't get himself in a lot of trouble, and he was effective with his feet when he needed to run the ball. So the way he played and the way McCarthy played looked completely different, although the numbers were similar. JJ, on the other hand, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Swift, who ran for almost 100 yards. So their running game was actually not bad either. And JJ, he was a top 10 pick. And I really haven't seen, obviously he was injured, didn't play at all last year, and he's been in and out of the lineup this year. But I really haven't seen anything in his play this year that I would be excited about taking him with a top 10 pick, to be quite honest with you. And if you look at what he's done and how he's done it, and his numbers coming out, I mean, first of all, Michigan was more of a run-centric football team, even with him there being a manager, a game manager at Michigan. Now he comes to the NFL, and, obviously he comes with a lot of hype, and people think he can do XYZ, and you get rid of Sam Darnold and the other kid who's in Indianapolis, Daniel Jones. You get rid of those guys who are on the roster because you're going to make this McCarthy's team. However, there's nothing about J.J. McCarthy that I've seen in the past or to this point in the present that would tell me he can be a franchise quarterback. Now, he'll have a couple stretches in the game where he'll say, okay, he made a good throw here. And 2 minutes later on the same throw, he'll throw a bounce pass to the receiver. So I'm concerned from the standpoint of, I know it's early in his career, but the flashes have been minimal at best.
Yeah, they've taken a step backwards, Brian. Obviously, as I mentioned, last year they were 14-3, or home field advantage. Everything was going in their favor. Now it's a far cry for them to even consider them in the playoffs. And the fans, a big disappointment there, and in terms of how much they love that team and the skull and everything like that. It's a great place to play when they're winning, but they are struggling right now at 4-6.
They're in a lot of these games. They're playing with Detroit. They're playing with Chicago. They're playing with Green Bay. They're just, there's going to be growing pains to the young quarterback. And I'll say this, JJ probably had a better offensive line at Michigan than they have in Minnesota right now. It's just, you can ask Sam Darnold last year. I think the Achilles heel of this team was when you're playing a decent pass rush, they're not able to hold up long enough. And, for JJ, if they could play behind 2 scores every single Sunday starting off, because that seems to be when he plays his best football, right? Like every single time I've seen the flashes that I think Vikings fans wanted to from JJ's when they're down late in the fourth quarter and they got to make plays. And I think it's just instincts at that point. You kind of turn your brain off and you just kind of go out there and you play. And I think maybe he's overthinking it. He has missed a lot of time with injuries, but also on the flip side is give the Bears a lot of credit. The turnaround that they've had, these are games that they would lose last year, right? And overwhelmingly so. And they were on the other end of this. They were the third team out last season. They were the team that would lose to the Vikings and lose to the Lions and kind of hang around and not quite be able to get it done. But, if they believe in JJ, it's going to take some time. He's had injuries. He's missed, a lot of games. But the way Sam Darnold's playing, with the exception of Sunday, Vikings fans might have a little, maybe have a little remorse for letting him go and not paying him a little too early.
Yeah, well, 1917 is the final there. 7-3 for the Bears. They are in first place, as we will find out in a few minutes how the Lions end up doing. But the Packers are 6-3-1. They end up going to New York, and kind of a must-win game for them to keep pace with the Chicago Bears. 27-20 is the final there. Joey, I'll start with you. The Giants fall to 2-9. Their season is all but over. They've got injuries and everything to concern. They wore their white jerseys at home for the first time that I can remember, but a lot of things going wrong there in New York. And give us your impressions, first and foremost, about the Giants hosting the Packers from the New York perspective.
Well, defensively, I think the Giants did not play their best game. For whatever reason, there was an issue with Abdul Carter before the game. And, that's something that they'll have to handle internally. But Jameis didn't play bad. He just didn't play great. I mean, he was okay. They were able to run the ball with Tracy. So they can do some things. They just are a team that's been decimated by injuries this year. The best receiver, who was probably one of the top 5 or 6 receivers in the league, young receivers in the league, he's out for the year. Then the quarterback is in concussion protocol, and he's had 4 different concussion related issues this season. Then your outstanding rookie running back is out for the year. He breaks his ankle. So they've had injury after injury. So it's really tough for them right now. And, Green Bay did just enough to win the game. I mean, again, Green Bay kind of plays to the level of the competition. Jordan Love played good, not great. They still have issues catching the ball. The receivers, I think they had maybe 6 drops in the game. It was they still don't impress you as one of the top 3 teams in the NFC right now, Green Bay. So I'm not sure what to think about them because they keep playing to the level of competition. But this was a good win. You win the games. You can only play the games in front of you, and they were able to beat the Giants and get back on the winning track.
Brian, Joey mentioned Jordan Love. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 174 yards in the air. They had 128 on the ground. Not overly impressive, but on the road to go against an NFL caliber team, it's another win, and they're 6-3-1. So in spite of the fact that there's some problems there in Green Bay, the fact that they're able to keep pace this week, certainly a good dividend for the Packer fans.
Yeah, listen, they're going to have to win every game they can in order to keep pace in the division. But Josh Jacobs kind of waiting a diagnosis on his knee injury. It's not meant to be too serious, but if he's out a couple weeks, he's kind of been the motor for this offense. You lose Tucker Kraft a couple weeks ago. The passing attack hasn't looked nearly as good. You get Christian Watson back, and he's been okay, but he's almost a year and a half removed from football, so you got to take your time and ease these guys back into the offense. But I'm waiting for one of these receivers that they've drafted. They've drafted a lot of them. They drafted a lot of guys in the first round, a lot of guys in the second round to come in here and kind of take over the passing game, right? And kind of be the alpha, be the guy. I haven't seen that yet from them. And, weather was kind of bad. It was kind of windy, which limited how they could throw the ball and the kicking and everything else. But, a 27-20 win over Jameis Winston and the backup New York Giants isn't necessarily something that you're going to be too proud of. But like you said, a win's a win. So, you keep moving in the right direction. You keep pace with the Chicago Bears in the division.
Well, another team that's moving in the right direction, the Pittsburgh Steelers, are 6-4. They've got some problems of their own, Joey, but this is a spitting incident. This is where the Bengals, who have fallen to 3-7, have a lot of stuff going on in their world. Flacco was 199 yards. I think he one touchdown, no touchdowns, interception. They fall to 3-7. Pittsburgh is 6-3. Fracture in the wrist for Aaron Rodgers. Tell me what's going on in Pittsburgh.
Well, you know what? I'm going to start with Cincinnati because Chase, who is one of the top 2 receivers, in my opinion, in the National Football League, had an incident where he spit on a player. Okay, and in the heat of battle, a lot of things happen. There's a lot of trash talking going on. There's this, there's that. But spitting on someone is really the most disrespectful thing you can do to another player on the field. That's one of the most disrespectful things you can do to a person in general, let alone someone on the field. Okay, so and then to not tell the truth about it when asked twice in an interview when their camera's around, everybody sees it. Okay, so and that incident cost him. He's suspended for a game and a game check, which will cost him a little over $500,000. So I hope it was worth $500,000. Now he makes $40,000. I mean $40 million a year, so he's not going to miss that. However, his reputation will be something that it'll be hard to overcome that. And from the Steelers' perspective, the injury to Aaron Rodgers will be. We'll see how it goes. He wants to play. Apparently, it's a fracture in the left wrist. He wants to play if he can because it's not a throwing wrist. But again, we're talking about a 41-year-old quarterback that if he's not getting rid of the ball quickly, he's going to take a hit and you're going to come down on the wrist again. So that'll be interesting. Now, Mason Rudolph came in and was really efficient with the ball. He played pretty good. They ran the ball well. Gainwell did some things in the pass game receiving. DK, I think, had 4 or 5 receptions, was targeted maybe 7 times during the game. So Pittsburgh played a really efficient game, and defensively they played really well against a team who they lost to a few weeks ago, and Flacco looked like Johnny Unitas again. So this was a little bit of a turn of events, but it was a good win for Pittsburgh, and I'm not sure where this leaves Cincinnati as far as being able to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, 232 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns for the Steelers. They do lose their starting quarterback. Mason Rudolph had to come in, and they ran for about 111 yards. So not too bad there for the Steelers against a division rival, but you're going against another team that is just like what you mentioned a little while ago with the Packers beating the Giants. For the Steelers to beat the Bengals, not much of an accomplishment, but you know what? You'll take the win, right, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately for them, especially if Rodgers is out, their next 3 games are at the Bears, the Bills, and then at the Ravens. And I think realistically, they're going to have to find a way to win at least one of those games. If they want to keep pace in the division and stay top dog, they're probably going to have to find a way to beat Baltimore, who, we haven't really talked about them yet because Lamar got hurt and they lost a bunch of games, but they're gaining momentum. They're picking up steam. They're right behind the Steelers as far as the division is concerned. But Steelers after this game, especially if Rodgers out long term, kind of find himself in the same boat that the Bengals have been in for the last month, as far as Joe Burrow being out and having to just kind of find an answer at quarterback. And thankfully for them, Mason Rudolph didn't look too badly, but I mean, he's going against arguably the worst defense in the league, so you would hope that would be the case. It's going to be tough sledding for Pittsburgh. We're going to find out a lot about this football team in the next 3 weeks, and obviously it depends on Aaron Rodgers, but if you're the Bengals at this point, I think it's kind of done with. It's kind of over with. And if you're a fan, Joe Burrow might be back in a week or 2. But other than that, there's not a lot of positives as far as Cincinnati Bengals. And then obviously you have the extracurricular stuff that Joey touched on that just kind of adds insult to injury.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for the Bengals for obvious reasons. 3-7 wasn't very expected to be at this point in the season, but it's where they are. You are what your record says you are, as Bill Parcells used to say. All right, let's look at the Chargers. Goodness gracious, why did they even get off the bus, Brian? What on earth were they thinking? 35-6. What a fiasco for them. The numbers are dismal. Justin Herbert and Trey Lance together threw for 93 yards in the air. They had 42 yards on the ground. The Jaguars, 192 yards on the ground. They had 4 touchdowns rushing. They had 153 yards. Real nice day there for the Jaguars. They made the home fans happy, and the Chargers just basically showed up and then went back to LA. They didn't have a very good game.
Yeah, it's the Joe Alt effect. I mean, this offense it's night and day. They kind of showed flashes of this early on when he was hurt. In the Giants game, if you go back and watch, the Giants kind of bullied them up front. They could not do a lot offensively, but it's Herbert's kind of running for his life, not a lot of time. You kind of have to shorten up a lot of routes. You don't give McConkey a chance to run kind of those deep crossers that he's known to do, and you have to do more quick hitters, and they can stack the box because of it, and it stifles the run game. And kudos to the Jaguars. The defense was fantastic. Lawrence didn't play a great game, but they got after it. And this is the team that I want to get behind. I want to get excited for. This is kind of the defense we saw against the Chiefs when they needed to clamp down a couple weeks ago, but it's kind of too Jekyll and Hyde from them right now to think that maybe they could be a playoff team, especially considering the fact that they're probably not going to win the division just because the Colts, for whatever reason, seem not to lose. And, Chargers are still 7-3. They're still very much in control of their own destiny, but they're going to have to get in control of the offensive line very, very quickly, or else it's gonna go downhill in a hurry for them.
Well, Joey, I know it's real early for the playoffs, but with Kansas City losing, with you a game ahead of Houston, this 6-4 Jaguar team has a little bit of life that they probably didn't have 2 or 3 weeks ago. In San Diego, in spite of them not playing very well, San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers, in spite of everything, they're still 7-4. They're in a good spot as well.
I don't have a ton of confidence in either one of these teams, to be quite honest with you. And the Chargers, because of what you mentioned, I mean, despite the offense not playing well, the defense didn't play great. And Trevor Lawrence, numerically, these weren't great numbers for him. They ran the ball decently, but you know what? The Chargers were just so bad offensively that it made it easy for Jacksonville to do a lot of things. So as far as if we were talking playoffs, I would expect both of these teams, as they're put together today, to be first round exits. We'll see what happens down the road here, but there's still a lot of football left. But I'm not excited about either one of these teams at this point.
Well, 7-4 Chargers lose to 6-4 Jaguars. 34-6 is the final there. Next game that we're going to look at, we had high hopes for this next one. This is Seahawks going to the Rams. 21-19 is the final. Sam Darnold throws for 279 yards. He has no touchdowns and 4 interceptions. They rush for 135 yards. They try like crazy to get back into it. They gave up 14 points in the first quarter. They were trailing 14-3, and they end up losing by 2. The Rams are 8-2 right now. Seahawks are 7-3. Joey, I'll start with you. Stafford had 2 touchdowns. He threw for about 150 yards. Actually, not quite that many, but just enough to win.
It's a lot of ways to look at this football game. I expected this game to be the best game of the weekend. I really did. And I can't say that. I think the Eagles game was probably the best game of the weekend. However, for Seattle to turn the ball over 4 times and have a chance to win the game with a 61-yard field goal, although it missed, tells you that defensively they played a heck of a game. Because to turn the ball over that much and still have an opportunity to win, it tells you that defensively you're doing some really good things. I mean, I don't think anybody this year has held Stafford to 130 yards. Puka Nacua, I mean, he had a decent game. Devontae had 1 catch for 1 yard and 1 touchdown. I think he leads the league in receivers and touchdowns this season. But offensively, they weren't a juggernaut. Defensively, they're still a really good team. They got after Darnold. They caused the turnovers and some of the same issues. The naysayers would say, this is why Minnesota got rid of Darnold. I mean, but the Rams defense played a heck of a game as well. But Darnold made some ill-advised throws, especially in zone coverage, and that's shell coverage. And he was under pressure. And when he's under pressure, when you face pressure up the middle, you tend to make ill-advised throws because you feel like you got to get the ball out quick. And sometimes he got the ball out quick. And sometimes he saw a couple of ghosts and he got the ball out quick because his feet were all wrong. So I think that's what happened. And, when they play again and this game is in Seattle, I can see it score being similar and Seattle winning. I think these guys, these 2 teams are pretty equally yoked in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. This is the Seahawks' first loss on the road, Brian. They're 4-1 now. They're 7-3 overall. The Rams are 4-1 at home. And like Joey said, if this game is in Seattle, we might be seeing a different circumstance with the 12th man and getting the ball. But we didn't. They played well enough to be respectable in this game, even though they did some things and made a lot of mistakes. What did they have? They rushed for 135 yards, and they were right in it until the end.
Realistically, this team was 1 completion, maybe 5 or 6 yards away from winning this game. They almost stole this game from the Rams. I think they played their worst offensive game of the season, and they almost beat the Rams, who arguably the best team in the NFC right now at their place in prime time. And hey, listen, I understand you lost. You're kind of kicking yourself, but if you're going to play the worst game you've played all season and still be that close to a division rival and arguably the top dog in the NFC right now, I mean, that's, I don't think you ever can take away from losses, but you can learn a lot about yourself, right? Hey, if Sam throws one less interception or you make one more tackle, or you complete one more pass, we're talking a completely different outcome. And I could sit here and say very easily that they won this game playing their worst game of the season. So kudos to Seattle. The Rams had a phenomenal first quarter, and they were able to hang on from there. Their defense played phenomenal. They did a phenomenal job against Sam Darnold. They kept Jackson Smith and Jigba for the most part in check. A lot of short completions. There was some run after the catch, but they really tightened up when they needed to. It was very bend and don't break, and they took advantage of the mistakes that Seattle made. And, a division win and a top, 3 win in the conference is always good. And, give credit to the LA Rams. They just keep on rolling.
Yep, they're 8-2, 7-3 for the Seahawks. Let's stay in the division. 7-4 49ers keep pace. This one had me confused. Brian, I'll start with you. It's 41-22. San Francisco ends up winning. Jacoby Brissett throws for 452 yards. He has 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They only rushed the ball 36 yards. The Cardinals really couldn't move the ball at all. They fall to 3-7, and the 49ers don't blink. We're still here, guys. We're still a part of this thing. We're not going away. We might not be the same team that we've had some injury problems, but we are not going away. Brian, we'll start with you.
Well, the Arizona Cardinals right now just seem to be the team that they love being down 3 scores when it hits the 10-minute mark in the second quarter. They've done it back-to-back weeks. It's just, when you're down that many points that early, you kind of have to, abandon the run game and abandon the game plan and just try to figure it out. And, Jacoby Brissett had the 2 interceptions, but give him credit. He tied the record for most completions in a regular season NFL game, which is kind of absurd to think about. They threw the ball 57 times to their backup quarterback. They only mustered 22 points. This game was really over with about, 10, 11 minutes left in the fourth. But, the Niners did everything they wanted to. Purdy was efficient. McCaffrey was efficient. They didn't have to throw him out there too many times. George Kittle seems to be back. If you're Arizona, I think you're going to have a lot of questions to answer going forward. I think their season's just about over with, given, the records, the other 3 teams that we've talked about in the division. But is Kyler Murray the guy? Kind of see what we have at the receiver position, kind of see what we have at running back, and, figure it out and build on it because, things are not looking good in Arizona right now.
No, it's a struggle. They're in a tough division too, Joey. It's tough to win there when you can't beat any of the other opponents that you have in your division. You lose to the Rams, you lose to the 49ers, you lose to the Seahawks. That's 6 losses, and that's a tough road to hoe. But give me a perspective of what you think about the Niners right now.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Purdy played pretty efficiently. I mean, he threw for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kittle plays a lot better with Purdy in the game. Kittle is a lot more effective with Purdy than with Mac Jones. So that was a sight for sore eyes for the Niner fans, the fact that Kittle was playing well. And McCaffrey's playing well. They just got to stay healthy. They're a veteran team. They have to stay healthy. I mean, Arizona, on the other hand, they're preparing for the future. And anytime you throw 57 times, even with 47 completions, that's a recipe for failure because you're not a balanced team.
Yeah. That means that you're only getting 36 yards on the ground, or give or take something like
Absolutely.
that. All right, let's look at one of the hottest teams right now. Boy, they had their backs against the wall, and now it looks like now they're at 500. They're breathing differently. There's reasons that things are going on in Cleveland. So how do you want to attack this first, Joey? You want to talk about the Ravens scoring 23 or the Browns scoring 16?
Well, I'm gonna talk about Baltimore first. I was gonna go to Cleveland first, but that might be a little long-winded, so I'm gonna go to Baltimore first. Baltimore offensively didn't play great. They did. Justin Lamar played a very average Lamar Jackson type game. That being said, the running back ran for over 100 yards. Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
The tight end played excellent. I mean, he had a tush push sneak that he ran for a touchdown and looked like he had a piano on his back, but Andrews made it in. So that was good. So offensively, they're able to open things.
Steinway and Sons? Did he have a real, classic grand Steinway and Sons, or did he have just one of those little uprights?
It was interesting. He made it. That's all I can. He made it.
Okay.
And Defensively, they did some good things. Now, Cleveland not going to scare anybody with their offense, and we'll go into that in a minute. But I'm just going to say this: Cleveland's defensive end, Myles Garrett, 4 sacks in this game.
Yeah,
and you have to watch him play to see the things that he can do physically. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he quit, if this was his last game, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I'm not sure he's not one of the 3 best defensive ends in the history of the National Football League because of the athleticism, because of the speed, because of the burst, because of the bend, because of the power, and the fact he's built like the Incredible Hulk. And he runs like Usain Bolt once he turns that corner. I mean, I can honestly say in over 30 plus years in the NFL, along with watching it before I got there, I'm not sure I've ever seen a defensive end with the same skill set as Myles Garrett. I mean, it's special to look at. It's special to behold.
Let me ask you about that. I played with Reggie White. I played with Chris Dolman. He's a Chris Dolman body, big shoulders, small waist, 3 or 4% body fat. Chris is a little heavier, if I'm not mistaken. Myles may be, 285, whatever he is, but he's a full-grown man. Let me put it that way. And even when they double team him, he gets 4 sacks. Gosh, with Cleveland, what do they got to do to figure this out so they get 2 or 3 other guys? Is it a cap issue? I don't understand. They should have.
It's a consciousness issue. They need to trade him.
Yeah, maybe. Joey, before we move to Brian, please just give me real quick. Dylan Gabriel played. Shedeur Sanders played. Shedeur was 4 of 16, 47 yards. He averaged 2.9 yards per. He had no touchdowns. He had 1 interception. He was sacked twice. QB rating is 2.4. His quarterback rating was 13.5. Welcome to the National Football League. This is a job, and you got nobody around you. Yeah, but you got to be ready to play, and you've got some work to do. I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. Everybody does once they get to the league.
You're right, and I'm not a Shedeur apologist, but I'm going to go into something right here right quick, and hopefully I won't be too long. Because, you have people on a lot of different sides of the ledger, okay? Watching him, evaluating him coming out, I did not think he was a first-round pick, okay? However, I did not think he was a fifth-round pick. I thought he would be a late second or third-round pick from the tape I evaluated. That being said, to get a true evaluation of a player, and preseason is preseason. I mean, everybody's in love with him one week. The next week, they're not in love with him. And he's got a lot of things he has to work on. But to get a true evaluation of a player, I was okay with him being the third quarterback for the simple reason, if you're going to come in and play and get a true evaluation on him, he has to play the whole game. Okay.
Yeah,
he can't come. He's never going to look good coming in off the bench and playing. But that's the role of a backup quarterback. And usually that's the role of a veteran backup quarterback, not a rookie replacing another rookie. Okay. So to get a true evaluation of Shedeur Sanders, he needs to practice all week with the first team, know he's going to be the starter, and then if he wets the bed that game or the next game, then you have a better feel for him than him coming in off the bench playing. And you get what you get when you do that, especially with a rookie quarterback. So that's not to apologize for the way he played, but my train of thought has always been he's either going to start or he's going to be the third quarterback. But I would say that for any rookie quarterback, especially now you have 2 rookies. You have one starting, and now he's backed up by he's the backup to another rookie. So those are hard conversations to have, definitely with people. And it was crazy watching the game because the fans, when he got up to come in, the fans were clamoring for him, and his teammates. I mean, there was like zero excitement when he came in the game. Something internally is going on there in Cleveland, and it starts with ownership. The owner said right off the bat, he was not my pick. Okay, so he's taking the culpability of whatever is going to happen. The owner is trying to distance himself from it. Okay, so obviously he's not getting the reps with starters in practice, and that's fine, especially if you're the third quarterback. That's never going to happen, and it rarely happens with the second quarterback. So there's a lot going on there, but to get a true evaluation of the kid, he needs to know that he's going to be the starter, and that may happen in 2 or 3 more games when the season's done, and he will come in and play with the starters. But that's hard because and again, I don't want to get along with it, but if I'm comparing him to J.J. McCarthy, I mean, coming out, the numbers were completely lopsided in favor of Shedeur. And if you're telling me J.J. is worth a top 10 pick and Shedeur is the 180th player drafted in the draft, then there's a problem with that. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I don't believe all this other stuff's going around because I've been in the league long enough to know that that's a bunch of BS. But to get a true evaluation of them, you can't do that in half. You have to have game footage because the speed of the game is a lot different with grown men playing than some of those other guys he played with in preseason are garbage men now.
Yeah, very interesting perspective. And on draft day, the Browns had 5 quarterbacks. I can't remember anybody that would ever need that many in a room. You just can't do it. So it is what it is. But Brian, avoid the Shedeur for a moment and talk about Lamar. Not a very good day. He had no touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions. He threw for 193 yards on 14 completions. But thank goodness you got Derrick Henry on your roster.
Well, I mean, this is a very good Browns defense, right? If there's one unit they have that's consistent and they'll get after you, they got that terror, Myles Garrett. Dude is very quietly putting himself in position to break the single season sack record this year. No one's really talking about that because of the record, but I don't know if there's a team that's watched as much film on the Ravens set, maybe the Steelers, than the Cleveland Browns, right? They've played them enough times where, hey, we know what they want to do. We've played against Harbaugh. We played against Lamar. We kind of figured it inside and out. And I think Lamar's still getting his legs underneath him. He's still trying to figure it out. He missed a lot of time, but they're kind of getting to the home stretch where if they want to catch Pittsburgh, we talk about Pittsburgh's schedule, but the Ravens are kind of in the same boat. They're going to have to start winning some football games. And, you win this one. You don't play your best game. Lamar doesn't play nearly his best game, and you end up getting a win on the road in the division, which is always good. But kudos to Derrick Henry. They ran the ball well. They controlled the clock, but I need someone. Zay Flowers is okay, but I need someone for the Ravens too to kind of take over this passing attack as well. Andrews, the only contribution he really had was the touchdown where he had the piano on his back, and when he spun out of it, I don't think he believed he was going to score. I think he was just kind of hoping someone would tackle him so he didn't have to run all the way to the end zone. But Myles Garrett, Joey already talked about him. Dude has a chance to etch his name in NFL history this year. I think he might do it. And if you're the Ravens, they're trying to etch another win each and every Sunday. And fortunately for them, they got one.
Well, I was born with the Steinway and Sons on my back, so I know how that feels. And even though I got to play for a little while, I have no idea what it is to be fast from an NFL perspective. Next game we're going to look at Kansas City 5-5. Guys, who would have thought? I thought they were kind of mulling around, and then they're going to turn it on. Not in Denver. Goodness gracious. Broncos, and congratulations to Will Lutz, former Georgia State kicker. Boy, he's making a career for himself. If he doesn't go to the Pro Bowl, I don't know what you're going to do. But 22-19 is the final there. I'll start with you, Joey. There are a little bit of discipline issues with Sean Payton. I'm not exactly sure what went on, but the numbers speak for themselves. Broncos, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but Bo Nix throws for 295 yards. They had 59 yards on the ground, just slightly better than Kansas City, who had 62. So neither team could run the ball there in Mile High City, but guess what? The Broncos get another win, and they are 9-2 right now.
The Broncos are winning close football games, and that's the mark of a good team. Do I think they're a great team? I don't, but I do think they're a special defensive team. And when you can win the line of scrimmage, you can win a lot of football games. And usually you have to be able to run the ball, but with the way Denver plays offense, a lot of the short passes substitute for running the ball. Because Bo Nix can get out of trouble with his feet and do some things from that standpoint. But defensively, they're such a really good football team. In Kansas City, defensively, they're good. They aren't what they were a year ago or even 2 years ago when I thought they were really good. So they still have some holes there. Mahomes under pressure, he forced that interception and probably could have had another one intercepted that was dropped. But Kansas City, they're 5-5. They didn't expect to be here. I think they know that they can't win the division at this point. But if they get in the playoffs, which I think they will, I do still think they'll get in the playoffs. they're going to be a tough out. And they just don't have the aura around them that they once had of being invincible because, they've gone to Jacksonville and other places and lost football games. So that era of invincibility is probably gone at this point. So now you're going to have to depend on your veterans. And guess what? Kelsey stepped up and played. I think they're still a good football team. But it's Denver's division to lose at this point.
Yep.
Brian, the Chiefs have the Colts, Cowboys, Texans, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders on the rest of their schedule here for the rest of the year. It is doable. I don't think you're going to go undefeated. You're not going to go 12-5, but they're going to need to do just about everything. There's no more room for them to have any errors because they're 2 games behind with the Chargers and obviously 3 games now with the Broncos.
I think if you go back to the Super Bowl last year, what Joey said, I don't think teams are really scared of the Chiefs anymore. I think especially when you watch the Eagles tape, they really got manhandled up front. And I think teams are kind of seeing a weakness that they can exploit. They're saying, hey, these aren't the same guys. There's not the same explosiveness. And sometimes that happens, right? When you're a team that has a lot of vets and a lot of guys that have been around the team for a while, the Chiefs have been playing 2 or 3 extra football games every single year for the last 6 years, going back to pre-COVID. So they've made a habit of making deep playoff runs. Some of these guys might be tired. It might be one of those things where they didn't think they had to turn it on until midseason. But, unfortunately for them, the Chargers have 7 wins. The Broncos they're tied for first in the AFC right now. Kudos to them. They're playing some really good football. But watching the game on Sunday, I think Mahomes tried to do a little too much. I think there were a couple instances where he just needed to throw the ball away, either take the sack, whatever it is, as opposed to, he had 1 interception. Joey, like you mentioned, he could have had 2. That ended up costing him at least 3 points in that game, which ends up being the difference. But, the team's coached by Andy Reid. You got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Kelsey's looked very, very good the last couple of weeks. I think they're going to figure it out. Like Joey said, I think they're a playoff team, but there's a decent chance that if they make the playoffs that they're going to have to be right back there in Denver, and they're going to have to go win a primetime game against a very rowdy crowd in very cold weather and against a young Broncos team who's hungry and believes that they could beat anybody.
Yeah. Broncos are 6-0 at home. They've really made a turnaround. They were showing signs last year of getting better in the right way, and this year they're kind of fine-tuning some things. And again, the defense is playing well. Special teams is amazing, down to the last minute. And congratulations, Broncos are 9-2. The final game that we're going to talk about, gentlemen, Joey, I'll start with you because you mentioned earlier in the broadcast how impressed you were with defense. And both teams can play here in this environment. Eagles were better. They're 4-1 at home. They're 8-2 overall. 6-4. This is a disappointing Lions loss for a Honolulu fan. I'm telling you right now, the expectation now you're looking down at the Bears, and you're even with the Packers, with the exception of that tie. This isn't going to be one of those years where we dominate like we have in the past 2 or 3. You're going to have to really work to get yourself out of this one. Give me your perspective on the game itself, Joey.
Well, on the game itself, defense wins championships. And despite a pedestrian offensive performance by the Eagles, their defense continues to improve. The acquisitions that they made, that Howie made before the trade deadline, the defensive end from Miami, they got one of their own players back healthy, another pass rushing linebacker / defensive end, and they just keep getting better and better defensively. The cornerbacks played really well in this game. I'm really impressed with the Eagles. If they do the minimal things on offense, defensively, they can take over and win a football game. So I was really impressed with them. And Detroit is probably the most explosive team that they're going to face. I mean, they have a couple guys and the receiver and the running back, both from Alabama, they can really, really run and really be game changers. And they held those guys in check for the most part. They did make some explosive plays, but guess what? Defensively, they got out after Goff. And sometimes it looked like Goff was seeing ghosts because guess what?
Joey, what's your preference? Do you prefer a defensive rush and you have a forward to back type of defensive strategy, or do you prefer, you mentioned the cornerbacks, a back to forward? Hey, we got 2 safeties, we got some corners, and even a nickel that can cover just about anybody. We dare you to throw on us. What do you prefer? Is there one that, if you could only have one or the other, which one would be more preferable for you?
If I could have one, I would prefer a dominating defensive line, because with a dominating defensive line, you can force the quarterback into uncomfortable situations. You can get him off the spot. You can make him throw before he's ready. And your defensive backs can be average at that point, okay? Because you don't have to play man. You can play zone and keep everything in front of you, because you know the ball is coming out quick.
Yes, it is.
And from a secondary perspective, you can have those guys playing everything's in front, and you coming downhill right now, because you know the quarterback's got to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, and do you think, in just a 1 or 2 word answer, do you think that the Eagles do have a dominating front four?
Not only do they have that, but they're getting better.
Yeah, when they're healthy, right? They can dominate, as they showed here. Brian, your thought: front first, or back first? Which would you prefer if you could only have one?
Well, I mean, the defense they have right now, that's probably the best in the league, at least over the last couple of weeks, but they kind of have to be, because this offense has just been very lackluster. Saquon hasn't been his explosive self. Jalen is doing, kind of bare minimum. His completion percentage is okay, but not a lot of yards. But I think the way they're playing right now, I know there's not something right with the offense, and I know there might be something going on behind the scenes with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and maybe they're complaining about not getting the ball, which, as a receiver, that's how you get paid, right? You have to get the ball thrown to you if you want to get paid, you want to extend your career. But I think what they're doing right now is they're saying we're going to play off our defense, right? They had the Lions had a crucial turnover early in this game. Goff throws interception, it gets returned inside. The Eagles are set up in the red zone off the interception. It ends up only being 3 points, but it was kind of a tone setter for the game. They're playing from ahead, which this team does very, very well. We could dog on the Eagles all we want to offensively, but the defense is stout, and they're winning a lot of football games. They're still on top of the NFC right now. And on the flip side of that, if I talk about the Lions, the two games that have really concerned me, Sunday night concerned me watching this offense, and then week 1 against the Packers concerned me, because those are two of the premier defenses in the conference. Those are 2 guys you're probably going to have to get through. If your goal is ultimately a Super Bowl, if you want to achieve that, you're going to have to get through one, maybe both of those teams. And for whatever reason right now, they just have their number. The Lions got to kind of figure it out. I know Dan Campbell just recently took over play calling. Looked great last week against the Commanders, but it was kind of night and day. I think they were 0 for 5 on 4th down. The Lions were on Sunday. A lot of turnovers, a lot of sloppy football, not a lot of rhythm. And, you need to get that cleaned up, especially not even the playoffs, but they want to win the division. They're going to, they're looking up at the Pack or the Bears right now. Like you said, they're going to have to right the ship and figure it out pretty quickly.
Well, the Eagles are 4-1 at home. There were times where they're getting booed. I remember getting booed off the field in Philadelphia when we were ahead at halftime. We had a lead on Monday Night Football. We still got booed. But 4-1 with this team, and especially the capability, as Joey said just a few moments ago, they're getting better. They're improving. They're healthy, or while they're healthy. And even if they're not, they're still good enough. It's a pretty scary group, and there's still a long way to go, but the Eagles are pretty much in control of their own destiny right now. We have a final. Cowboys ended up holding on and winning by the same score as when we came on the air. It's 33-16. They defeat the Raiders. Cowboys are 4-5-1, and the Raiders fall to 2-8. Any final thoughts there about that game? Joy, I'll start with you.
No. No. I have no final thoughts on that game, because if I could erase that game from my mind and watch some real football next week, I would appreciate it.
Well, you can't unsee it. It's too late. You can't do it. And Brian, you're wearing silver and black. You're honoring the Los Angeles Kings. You've got a Gretzky jersey on, silver and black. When they were in LA, everybody adopted that as this is great. But Raiders organization really struggling now.
Yeah. At some point, it's got to turn around, right? You got to figure it out at some point. But like Joey said, even from the Cowboys' perspective, there's not much to write home about this game. It's just move on, short week, get ready for next Sunday.
Yeah, there we go. Well, speaking of next Sunday, plenty of games. We'll talk about them. We've got a different show that will talk about some of the NFL games. Guys, give me your final thoughts. Brian, I'll start with you. Week 11 here in the National Football League. I'm going to say Patriots have surprised me all year, and I think they're there for good. I think the Seattle Seahawks, once they play the Rams in a couple weeks, up in Seattle. We'll have a different outcome there. We're not going to throw 4 more picks, and if we do, then forget it. But those are 2 of my bright spots in terms of what happened this week.
If you had the Carolina Panthers at this point with a better record than the Kansas City Chiefs, congratulations to you. You're a football expert, football connoisseur. Because for me, it's just a lot of parity in the league this year. The Indianapolis Colts only having 2 losses. It's been a lot of fun. It really has been, and every single week had a lot of close games this week, a lot of good games, and I think it's going to be that way the rest of the season. So looking forward to it.
Send us away, Joey.
Defense wins championships. The teams that win the line of scrimmage and have the best defense will win the championship. And the MVP voting, in my opinion, the running back from the Indianapolis Colts just took the lead by not playing.
Yeah, he got to rest up and take the lead. Huh?
Yeah. Imagine fresh legs next week, and how many if you're going to have another 250-yard game. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show, everybody. This has been the NFL wrap-up for week number 11. Joey Clinkscales, general manager, personnel directors, head scout, is a part of the staff, and so is Brian LeBel, our NCAA and pro expert and analyst. We appreciate you guys being a part of the show. We'll be back again next week to look at week 12's action for the wrap-up show and find out where your favorite teams are. But in the meanwhile, we hope everybody has a fantastic day. We appreciate you being a part of the show.